We have a very STEAM-focused show today, a little bit of science and a little bit of art mixed in for you this afternoon. And we're also celebrating women for Women's History Month as International Women's Day is Thursday, so we have an all-female guest show for you planned today. So I'd like to say hello and welcome to our first guest, Mara Trachtenberg. I knew I was going to mess it up.
Trachtenberg, it's good.
Trachtenberg. I knew I had it, and then I knew I was going to mess it up. Anyway, Mara is here joining us today. I am pleased to welcome her. She's one of the founders of the Woman Project. So the basis of the Woman Project is using art for activism. So I'm very pleased to welcome you, Mara. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
So super excited to talk all about the organization. Started up a little bit over a year ago, very active within Rhode Island. So before we get started talking about the organization, let's talk a little bit about what you're doing within the community as we move forward with Women's History Month and a little bit about International Women's Day.
So last year we did a march in Wakefield, a dinner strike march, which was a lot of fun, and we had a great turnout. And this year we've decided to support two other organizations in their International Women's Day celebrations. So we are going to be having one of our founders at the State House on Thursday about 3 o'clock with Hope for Change Haiti, and she will be talking on behalf of the Women Project there. And down at URI, we're supporting a bunch of different feminist organizations at the university in their Her Story March and celebration of International Women's Day, and we'll be there with quilt signing as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the organization and a little bit about how you got started and a little bit about the background. After the election in 2016,
Yeah.
2017, do my math here.
It's been a very long year.
Multiple women's groups kind of formed, and not necessarily all women, but groups founding around different women's rights. Talk to us a little bit about how your group formed and really what the focus is.
So we are, we always like to say we're a bunch of suburban moms. And that's exactly what we are. We all live in Wakefield. We were all very, very saddened and very concerned about the future of our daughters and sons as, after the election. And we also all learned right around the same time about our state's stance on reproductive freedom. And which was really very much a surprise to us because we are a democratic state and we just thought, well, we're a democratic state, we should have rights, and we don't actually. And so with the current administration, there's a very good chance that reproductive freedom might be taken away on the federal level, which means that in Rhode Island, we would have no guarantee of those rights here. And so we got together, we decided we wanted to do something. A few of us are artists, a few of us are have more political background. We decided it was a nice mix. And so we picked this issue as being a very traditional, really important feminist issue to work on because it's very important in the state, but also it seemed doable to us. It didn't seem like it was gonna, right, there's so many things that we need to be thinking about right now and so many big concerns. But this felt like something we could actually make a difference on. And so we decided to pick reproductive freedom. And so we support the Rhode Island Health Care Act is what it's called. And we'd like to see it come to a vote on the floor of the State House. And that's what we've been working towards for the past year. And we, so we just sort of started doing this with a very I should say that we really wanted to have a very intersectional feminist slant on what we were doing as well as the art.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the art because I think that's what sets you, the Woman Project, apart from other groups. There are several groups here in Rhode Island, and we've had the pleasure of speaking with them on the show, different members of different groups. But I think what the Women Project is so unique because it's really using art for activism. And I think art can really bring a voice to a message. Talk to us a little bit about why it was important for you to incorporate art and really use that as a driving force with the group.
So one of the things that art is really good at is giving people voices. And we know how hard it is to be activists and be mothers and have jobs and careers and lives that we want to lead. And so one of the things that we were really thinking about when we started talking about is how do we make it easy for people to have their voice heard? How do we make it easy for women to have their voice heard on this issue? And because a few of us are artists, and we have, we understand art history, we understand the connections and the impact that art has actually had on politics in American history and worldwide history. We thought, well, this is a really good place to start. So how, we wanted to make it easy for people to have their voices heard through art, because art is visual, it's impactful, it makes a statement. It's hard to turn away from something that's different looking, right? You can't ignore it a lot of times. I guess you could, but it's impactful in a way that brings attention.
And I think too that art, no matter what side of an issue that you stand on, or whether you take no part in an issue, sometimes art can say things that words really can't.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And I think art really can approach things from a different point of view that, and speak to people in maybe a way that really words can't speak to people.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think we saw a lot of that, whether it was through the election or after the election. We really saw a lot of visual statements being made from across multiple boards. I just think a visual message is really impactful. So, so this group kind of spoke to me in that. Do you think that? Yay! Do you think that because we are in Rhode Island, there's such a vibrant artist community? Do you think that the Women Project could thrive in other areas that maybe don't have such a thriving artist community?
I do, because I think that the kinds of projects we're doing doesn't really take people to have an artistic background or even an interest in making art, right? So we try to use what people already have, which is usually their name or their voice or a message, and then have that be part of the artwork, so that people, but there are people who are very artistic who have, participated in projects and have made really amazing things as well. So
yeah, because I think and let me ask you this, because you teach and you are an artist yourself. Over the course of time, have we seen visual statements being made, whether it's for a political statement or something else? Have we seen art really make an impact throughout the course of history?
Yes, we have.
Care to expand?
I would care to expand. So the Aids Quilt is a really good example. We've sort of taken a little piece of that, but the Aids Quilt really, it covered the lawn, or the mall down in Washington, D.C., and it was quilts. I believe it was people who had died of AIDS, and it was a memorial, and it really brought the issue of people dying of AIDS and how bad it was to the forefront of our consciousness as a country. Also, Lewis Hine, a photographer in the around the turn of the century, was very responsible for ending child labor practices from photographing in textile mills. So, people seeing the images of young children working in deplorable conditions and just working, really raised that issue and ended child labor in our country. So there is a long history.
So being able to use art as a visual
Yes.
medium to get whatever point across. Let's talk about some of the work that the Women Project has done and is continuing to do. We've mentioned quilt a couple times.
Yes.
So you've been working on the quilt. You had version 1.0, upgrading to 2.0,
Yes.
which I think is so cool. Using the visual petition to support the Reproductive Healthcare Act. Talk about how this kind of came to be, and then upgrading to version 2.0.
So
Let's show it.
Oh yeah. So last May we decided we were going to do this big art in at the State House. So we did this event where we had multiple art projects going on at the same time, and we decided one of the projects that we wanted to do was a giant petition. So we got this big, giant, almost indestructible paper. We laid it out on the steps of the State House, and people started signing it. And we did a few other projects that day as well, but the petition seemed to have a lot of impact because we could take it easily and bring it to places and get more signatures and show it. And that petition went almost all over the state.
Oh, that's cool.
And one of our collaborators said, I have this idea to do a quilt so that it relates a little bit more to feminist art and turn it into a petition. And we were all like, yes, let's do it. So we have petition 2.0. which is this year's version.
Okay.
So currently we have over 1,200 signatures. Should I hold it up above my face?
Yes, hold it up. So this is version 2.0. And talk to us a little bit about, so people can see, this is the quilt. This is version 2.0. All right.
This is one unfinished section of the quilt, I should say.
One piece of
So
version
each,
2.0.
so I'll just fold it in half and then do it.
Okay.
So, it'll be a little, so each square has an individual's name, and so it serves as a petition signature. So each square represents a signature of a person, and each panel, I think, might have like 75 squares on it about. And I'm not sure the number of panels, but there's a significant amount of signatures we have. We have a group of dedicated sewers in our network. We do have on Thursday at Ryco up in Lincoln, I think it's in Lincoln, there is another sewing bee to finish putting these together. We're going to be unveiling them. We're going to be unveiling them on the State House at our next Oregon Equity Day on March 28th. And so this is going to sit at the State House for the rest of session. And we're going to keep growing it. So each section will attach to each other section. And we really want our lawmakers to see, what 63% of the Rhode Island population really looks like, right? It's not just a number. It actually correlates to a certain amount of people who are in favor of reproductive freedom in our state. And it's a message that they really need to hear. It's time now to do it proactively before, anything happens at the Supreme Court level. Before one of the justices leaves or passes away.
This is the visual representation of what people in Rhode Island care about, want, and so hoping to push this forward in legislation rather than having our legislators just not act, just sit on something.
Yeah.
Okay. So look, you mentioned Oregon Equity Day, and I'm gonna have you scoot over just a little bit.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We're showing the quilt, the portion of the quilt. So again, that's a big piece, but again, just a portion. Talk to us a little bit about Oregon Equity Day. It's a little bit harder to say than it is to read. I'll tell you that. This is something that you kind of helped brainstorm. Another idea, another visual representation that you went up to the State House to do, and you're doing it sort of every month. Talk to us about this.
So Oregon Equity came out of a question. The question was, why is the uterus the only organ in the body that's legislated? And it's sort of funny.
I don't know
right?
why.
It's tongue in cheek, but why is it different than the other organs?
Yeah.
And so it's tongue in cheek. It's kind of funny, but it's also very serious. And really the issue of reproductive freedom is about privacy between a woman and her body, right? Men have privacy. The government doesn't interfere with anything they do with their bodies. Why are our bodies different? Why is this one particular organ different than all the other organs in the body? And so we like the tongue-in-cheekness of it, but we also like the seriousness of it. And it's just another way to talk about reproductive freedom, and highlighting this idea that the uterus somehow gets different treatment from the rest of the body.
And also making this stance, is my understanding that you'll have a group of supporters, people headed up to the State House every 28 days.
Around 28 days.
Because it could change.
It could change, yeah, 28 to 32, right? But it's the idea, we're sort of riffing on the Guerrilla Girls for the images that we've posted so far. So we did one at the Vagina Monologues where we had all the audience participants hold up the uteruses in front of their faces, and we took a picture of the entire audience. We'd like to sort of we'd like this to go viral, so where people could download their own uterus from us, and they could take a selfie with the uterus in front of their faces. So if you follow us on social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll be getting that link out soon. And so if you're interested in doing that, we'd love to have people participate in any way, shape, or form if you feel like you're someone who wants to participate. If you're interested in doing that. Yes.
Mara, this has been so fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. And of course, they have several events coming up and supporting other organizations throughout the entire month. Thank you so much for chatting with us today. Really do appreciate it. The Women Project, and we'll have links to their website on our page, GoLocalProv.com. So Mara, thank you so much for joining us
Thank you.
today.
Have
I
a great
appreciate
day.
it.
I'll grab this on my way up.
And we're
Okay.
going to get set up here for our next guest. Thank
Okay.
you, Mara.
Thank you. Take
Appreciate
care.
the Women Project, of course, as we celebrate International Women's Day on Thursday, March 8th. I'd like to say hello and welcome to our next guest. We're moving on from the art part of STEAM to the science and technology part of STEAM. Kim Arcand, our friend, you